Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Furibee Fuuton. Probably not the best name. Naming it after furniture, really? Especially with a quad that performs as good as this, the name definitely doesn't do it any justice. The Furibee Fuuton is a high performance 200mm quadcopter that comes in almost ready to fly or bind and fly, in which it will come with a FreeSky receiver. It features a lightweight frame with a thick 4mm main plate and 2mm side and top plates. It's powered by 20 amp BL Heli S ESCs and 2205 2500 kilovolt brushless motors. I think the Futon was designed with weight factor in mind, as it's a heck of a lot lighter than anything else in this size, at least anything I've ever flown. Right away, the first thing that I noticed when I picked up the Futon was the weight. It's just amazingly light. With all the quads that I've built, aside from the frame, the motors have always been the heaviest part. For the Futon, I think this is where most of the weight savings is accomplished. Another good thing about this quad is the free space. Since it uses an all-in-one flight controller, there's only one board. This includes the PDB, the OSD, and of course the flight controller. Everything is integrated into that single board, which allows it to save a ton of space. You can probably even fit a full-size receiver into the empty space. Here is an instructions manual. It's got information on flight controller as well as steps on how to set up the OSD, as well as steps on how to bind different types of receivers. Looks like nice packaging. Everything looks held in place securely. Here are two zip ties. Here we have some 5040 propellers. They weigh around 3.6 grams a piece. This plastic piece is an action camera mount. It supports cameras similar to the GoPro Session as well as normal GoPro cameras. I personally use the Hawkeye Firefly 7S, but it was a little too big. I ended up having to shave off part of the mount to be able to get the camera in. This is the Velcro strap. This one is for the camera. There's already one attached to the quad. Here we have a right-handed circularly polarized antenna with an RP-SMA male connector. Stem is strong and should be able to hold its position very well. Got some information on the 600 milliwatt VTX here. Basically shows bands and frequencies. And last but not least, the Futon. Holding everything together, the Futon has a tough 4mm main plate that can definitely take a beating. It's also got 2mm side and top plates, as well as 4 36mm standoffs. As you can see, there's not much to it. I think these simplistic frames are more durable and will fare much better in a crash. The camera is able to adjust to about 80 degrees, which is plenty of up tilt even for expert flyers. Camera looks like an HS1177 clone with a big 2.5mm lens. Camera is held in place by two screws screwed into the side plates, allowing for easy access for when you want to adjust the camera angle. On this side you can see the buzzer attached. The buzzer will go off at a predetermined voltage. This can be set under the Configurations tab while inside Betaflight. The buzzer will also beep when certain functions are accessed. On the back of the quad we have the LEDs and the video transmitter. The 600 milliwatt transmitter is a bit excessive for mini quads, especially because you won't be flying too far away. Rather, a 200 milliwatt would be the ideal choice. If you're flying with other people, a 600 milliwatt transmitter can cause interference with other racers. Although you may have a very good picture, video quality for others around you may suffer. On top, the transmitter's female RP-SMA connector is screwed in and firmly held in place. Personally, I don't like having my antenna pointing straight up. Instead, I prefer them to be angled 40 to 45 degrees back. What's good about the action camera mount is that there are slits on the bottom that locks it in place. The included zip ties are used to semi-permanently hold it in place. It really is a blessing that the quad is so light. because by adding an action camera, you will be adding a ton of weight. Even though the Futon is an amazing quad in many aspects, there are still a few things that I would add. The Futon has a bottom-mounted battery, which can be hazardous to your LiPo packs. I would definitely recommend using some form of protection, a carbon fiber plate, a plastic plate, or simply a slab of foam. It may not look the best, but a little ugly is far better than a punctured LiPo pack. For under $4, you can add a layer of defense between the ground and your battery. In this case, having something there is better than nothing at all. These battery plates normally include a Velcro strap, a couple pieces of foam, and a rubber mat that helps hold the battery in place. But if you need something right now, you can use a slab of foam and strap it to the bottom of your pack. Plus, if you're anything like me, you already have a bunch of foam saved up from that camera or that VTX. I actually have a box filled with all different types of foam. For some reason, I can always find a use for them. The Futon arrived preloaded with Betaflight 3.0.1. If you want the newest firmware, use the firmware flasher tab. It's especially easy to update since the flight controller features a boot button. First things first, make sure your quadcopter is on an even surface and hit the calibrate button. This will properly level out your quad. You don't need to edit anything on the ports tab, all the settings have been properly set. There may be a couple things that differ on your configurations tab. This will depend on the type of receiver you plan on using, as well as your preference on whether you want the motors to spin up as soon as you arm your quad. Also, under the battery voltage, you can set your preferred voltage alarm. In this section, I changed the PID loop frequency to 4 kHz because I feel the ESCs can handle it just fine. On another note, the CPU load also remained below 35%. As a general rule of thumb, you want to keep it in the range of 30 to 35%. Some people say 25%, some say 45%. I've always kept it around 30 to 35 and it's worked perfectly fine. I can't remember which other features were selected out of the box, but I currently have them all switched off. The only thing you'd probably want to use is either the black box or telemetry option. These are the stock PIDs. I've heard people saying that the quad flies just fine with it as is, but personally I think they're a bit tame. I normally start off with this tune on all of my quads and basically just fiddle with it until I can get it to fly halfway decent. Next up we have the modes tab. I am currently using a switch to arm my quads, and right now it's currently under auxiliary 1, and I have auxiliary 2 for my flight modes and auxiliary 3 for my beeper. The beeper, it's useful for finding your quads in the event of a crash, but this is only if your battery is still connected. Last of all, before you go out and fly, I recommend calibrating the ESCs and motors. It's quite simple. First, unplug your battery, select the motor's test mode notice, raise the master slider all the way up, plug your battery back in and wait until the tune finishes, slide the master slider back down, and you're done. That's it.